Oye, mi gente, you know who this is. I wanted to talk to you today. I want to say that it's going to be okay. And I'm saying this to myself and to everybody out there that may see this video at some point or another. For many of us who live with mental disabilities of various kinds, be it schizophrenia, bipolar depression, schizoaffective disorder, borderline personality disorder, bipolar, if I didn't say that, my memory screwed up, so I may have repeated myself, dissociative disorder. I guess I'll stop listing there because, as we know, there are a lot of them. Psychomethia, I may not be saying it right, but anyway, as we know, there are a lot of mental disabilities and disorders, even autism and Asperger's. No matter what your mental disability is, this is what you've got to know. You've got to know that you're in this fight for yourself, and you've got to know that you've got to be your strongest proponent, if at all possible. Many of us are going to have different degrees of disability and limitations. Some will be able to do more than others, some will be able to do less than others, but depending on how ill you are, may have a great factor in what it is that you're able to do. But if you're able to have any say, any type of understanding or comprehension of your illness and how it works, if you've gotten to the point where you've learned or are even learning now your triggers and how to manage your illness and how to keep yourself out of the hospital, how to keep yourself suicide free, how to keep yourself from self-injury, how to keep yourself from having really bad bouts of emotional dysregulation where you can't control your emotions and you go off into rages or get really upset and do things that are hard to take back or hard to restore relationships because of acting out during a time when you just really had a difficult time controlling yourself. If you've done and or are doing all of those things, here is something else to think about and consider. For many people, and a lot of times very much so in even higher degrees, and this certainly happens in all families, or rather it can happen in all families as a propensity, but particularly for communities and people of color, because of the stigma that is associated with mental illness and mental disabilities. A lot of times we persons in communities of colors find ourselves on our own. Either it's people don't want to acknowledge that you have a disability because it's not physical, because they can't touch it, because they can't handle it or taste it in the way that they can digest cancer, or the way they can process diabetes, or the way they can rationalize arthritis. Nobody, think about it, for the most part wants to imagine or visualize their loved one having a mental illness. It's still a lot of stigma associated with it, and so because of the way that it looks and the texture of it and the way that it's perceived by the public, a lot of times your family is going to have a hard time with it. Now, some of us are really fortunate that our families are very encouraging and supportive and go with us to doctor's appointments and help us to make appointments when we are not able to do so, and help us with medications, to remind us and help us with refills when we're not in the space to be able to function and take care of ourselves. But then for those that are able to have that kind of support from their families, there are just that many more who don't have it. And so that leaves a great number of people in a disparaging situation because they're out there trying to take care of themselves and they really can't in a lot of ways because of the disability of having a mental illness. Now, again, it depends on each individual person. Some people are going to, be able to function better than others. And there are some people that are very high functioning and some people that are low and mid-grade. I myself in mid-grade functioning, and I have like maybe 3 different factors in my family in a response to it. I have one factor of family that won't have anything to do with me because of it, most likely due to the ignorance of the way the media has handled persons with mental illness, only highlighting the very worst extreme cases to create fear. And that has certainly separated a lot of people from families and friends, because people are afraid they're going to, have a bad response and do something drastic. You have that demographic within my family, and then you have a second arm that ignores it, to act as if it isn't there, and if you try to say anything about it, changes the subject or pretends it. It's like a giant pink elephant in the room that nobody wants to see, and it's right there. They don't deal with it, they don't acknowledge it, they don't speak on it. And then I have the third leg of people within my family that are, actually I could say 4 legs. Then there's the third leg, very small vein, that acknowledge it and listen and do have some compassion, but because they're not experiencing it, as my friend and mentor B. Strong 4 says, they just don't understand. So it's like, I can explain it, we can talk about it, I can express to a certain extent, but it's like the understanding only goes to a certain point, and then it stops because they don't have it, so they really can't get it. And then the fourth arm is the abuse that many of us will suffer that have a mental illness. The ignorance, the indifference to when you need to go to the doctor, to see your psych, to get therapy, the verbal abuse, the slurs, when you have a mood disorder and a thought disorder, it's difficult for you a lot of times to engage with the family. A lot of times you withdraw because you're depressed or you're paranoid, or you might be experiencing psychosis, and it's difficult for you to interact. And then they start calling you weird and whispering and talking about you and talking to you like you're a child, or get mad with you because you can't answer them immediately, or call you kind of terrible names because you cannot do things in a manner that everybody else does, or you're out of sync, or your habits or behaviors are strange to them because they're different from everybody else, and yet they know you have a mental illness, but they want to ostracize you and make fun of you because you do, or they put you down because you don't have the type of financial situation that everyone else does, so you're ostracized. Things that I'm subjected to due to my mental illness are just at times horrendous, and it takes everything to keep a bit of self-worth. It's difficult. It's really difficult, and I'm just going to talk to you, mi gente. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. I'm just going to talk to you. It's very difficult to keep a sense of self-worth when everybody has money and you don't, because you're not either able to work or to get or keep or hold on a job because of symptoms of your illness that are bothersome, and then you can't really get to the doctor because different things are happening, and it's not because of things you can't go, and you're not getting the type of support that you need, or people either telling you there's nothing wrong with you, or as in my case, being called out of your names. Some things I'm called on a semi-regular basis, either literally in my face or behind my back are bitch, stupid motherfucker, and worse. And people a lot of times don't really take a moment to realize how you feel about that. Just because you're not talking doesn't mean you can't feel pain or hurts, or just because you withdraw or you only kind of deal with one family member because you feel uncomfortable with some of the other people, and even though they may be relatives, your illness doesn't really allow you to do a whole lot in terms of socializing and dealing with people, so you kind of keep to yourself, and because of that you're abused or seen as stupid, or you talk to like you don't have any sense. These are the things that you can go through even where your family on a most negative note. And for anybody who's ever been cussed out by their family, or taken advantage of financially, or put down because they don't have finances by their family, I want to let you know that I'm here and I understand that, and I connect to you and I relate to you, and you're not by yourself. That is some of the worst abuse, because a lot of times what is done, they do this to you, but they still, I'm still trying to figure that out. But I just want to say that you're not alone. You are not alone. And what we have to do and what's necessary is that when you don't have that support, and when you're not acknowledged, and when you're asked why you're acting like this, and people know that you have a mental disability, you've got to create networks, and you've got to tap into networks, either through internet, and it really, that's a crisis mode, so you got to do it however that you can, because you don't want to get to the point, you can get so low by suffering those kind of things that you just literally snap. And I've truly been there. You can snap to the point of violence, you can snap to the point of depression, you can snap to the point of self-injury and or worse, and even going to the point of going suicidal. These things really have a great effect. So until you can better your situation, you got to get any kind of support that you can, finding a group or getting out, taking a walk, connecting, talk to somebody. You have to let that pressure and that pain out, because it will kill you, and if you don't let it out, eventually it will explode. And of course you may have to use caution with who you talk to, but I've been so desperate that I've even talked to absolute strangers, where it's had me to the point at times where I walk the street crying, or just talking to myself in a stupor. Walked out in the street, almost got hit, just completely out of it. So I mean, you have to begin to open up and talk about it and reach out for help, and even calling an 800 line, or friends, or just sometimes you got to talk. And sometimes the person you're talking to can't even do anything to help you, but it's just you letting it out. You got to find ways to release that pain and begin to work on it until you can better yourself. You might be in a really bad situation. You may be someplace and getting beat down or cussed out or getting your money taken or being taken advantage of in any number of ways, and people telling you, well, you don't have anything, so this is what you have to do. And then it's disproportionate to so many things, where it's just puts you in a place of emotional distress, and you've got to find a way, however you got to deal with it. Like I say, a walk, a bike ride. A lot of times when you're in these positions, you really don't have money or maybe even access to it, but you got to find something that helps you and something that saves you. So I just wanted to encourage mi gente out there and let you know that you're not by yourself. Know that you're in this fight for yourself, and you've got to know that you've got to be your strongest proponent, if at all possible. Many of us are going to have different degrees of disability and limitations. Some will be able to do more than others, some will be able to do less than others, but depending on how ill you are, may have a great factor in what it is that you're able to do. But if you're able to have any Oye, mi gente, you know who this is. I wanted to talk to you today. I want to say dissociative disorder. I guess I'll stop listing there because, as we know, there are a lot of them. Psychomythia. I may not be saying it right, but anyway, as we know, there are a lot of mental disabilities and disorders, even autism and Asperger's. No matter what your mental disability is, this is what you've got to know. You've got to know any type of understanding or comprehension of your illness and how it works. If you've gotten to the point where you've learned or are even learning now your triggers and how to manage your illness and how to keep yourself out of the hospital, how to keep yourself suicide free, how to keep yourself from self-injury, how to keep yourself from having really bad bouts of emotional dysregulation where you can't control your emotion, that it's going to be okay. And I'm saying this to myself and to everybody out there that may see this video at some point or another. For many of us who live with mental disabilities of various kinds, be it schizophrenia, bipolar depression, schizoaffective disorder, borderline personality disorder, bipolar. If I didn't say that, my memory screwed up, so I may have repeated myself.